Hey, what's up, everybody? Pat here, great for recovering alcoholic and addict, just like every day. Guys, please don't forget to subscribe, leave the video a like, drop me a comment, and by all means share it with anybody you might think might get something out of it. Other than that, you guys know the deal, guys. Friday, my home group of AA. Love that meeting. What a great meeting. And starting next Friday, I officially become the chairperson for Friday for the next 3 months anyway. And yeah, I'm really excited. I got to go over, pay close attention, and actually, we're gonna mention something, guys. Last Friday, if you were watching the video, I talked about how I took a chance on parking, and it distracted me a little bit from the meeting, and I should have known better. Well, I made a bad decision again today, and I parked in that same spot, and sure enough, while I was drawing the time, I looked up and I saw a Harvard police officer putting a ticket on my windshield. And you know what? I wasn't distracted. I decided it was my mistake. I'll gladly pay the ticket and not let it distract me from paying full attention to the meeting. And lo and behold, when I go out after the meeting, guys, it was a $75 ticket because I was in a reserved spot. So, and I got to be honest. My first instinct was, well, it's only Harvard police. Is it legal? Can I get away with not paying this? Should I appeal it and I could get it knocked down by plain ignorance? And as I drove away, I'm like, no, that's not the right thing to do, and I know better than that. And I made the decision that I wouldn't do it last week. I did it because I wanted to get to the meeting early today and be fully familiar with the setup and everything. But again, I had given myself plenty of time. There was no need of it. So I'm going to pay the ticket today, and lo and behold, I would damn sure not park there again. And, I'm not going to play games with it. I did it. I knew full well I wasn't supposed to. I had made a decision not to do that again, and sure enough, I got caught. And I'm actually kind of glad I did. It just goes to show when I go, it makes me feel how aligned I am with my higher power, because the minute I go back and do something I said I wasn't going to do, it bites me in the ass, and I learn the lesson. But you know what? It's a painless lesson. Technically, where I was parked, that is a tow zone. They could have showed up real quick, and I would have been running out of the meeting trying to keep my truck from getting towed, and paid a lot more. So I'm going to pay the $75 with gratitude, and no better than to go back on my word. So anyway, with that, we're going to get into the reading, guys. The reading today is titled "Seeing Ourselves in Others." Seeing ourselves in others. It will not make us better people to judge the faults of another. How easy is it to point out the faults of others? There's a reason for this. The defects we identify most easily in others are often the defects we are most familiar with in our own character. We may notice our best friend's tendency to spend too much money, but if we examine our own spending habits, we'll probably find the same compulsiveness. We may decide somebody else is too involved in service, and then find out that, and then recognize that we haven't spent a single weekend with our families in 3 weeks due to one service commitment or another. What we dislike in our fellows are often the very things that we dislike in ourselves. We can turn this observation to our spiritual advantage when we are stricken with the impulse to judge someone else. We can redirect it. We can redirect the impulse in such a way as to recognize our own defects more clearly. What we see will guide our actions towards recovery and help us become emotionally healthy and happy individuals. And the affirmation is, just for today, I will look beyond the character defects of others and recognize my own. And guys, you know what? This is something we're all guilty of, and I believe it's totally true. And it's something that I've learned in this early recovery, because before that, I never knew that. But again, I was never paying attention to things like that. And it's amazing to me to see it. And it was very helpful to me to understand this. Again, I only share these things never to call somebody out, but because you can learn. When you pay attention to these things and you apply them, you become better people. I certainly have. I realized very early on, and whether it was me trying to, stand out and toot my own horn without actually tooting my own horn, by noticing all the defects of everybody else that was either still using or whatever. And because I'm actually really applying these principles and actually being intentional and paying attention to what I'm learning and what I'm doing, I've come to see exactly that. The things that bother me in other people are typically the behaviors of my own that bother me about myself. So I've taken that one step further, and I've been very intentional about paying attention to where I'm picking up and where I'm where I'm finding the impulse to judge someone else, and then looking and seeing how it applies to my own behavior. And lo and behold, more often than not, I'm finding it's because I'm doing the same thing and maybe just not getting as good a result as they are, or I'm doing the same improper thing, and I know it's emotionally eating at me or spiritually eating at me. Not perfect, and I still catch myself doing it from time to time, but I've paid a lot of attention to stopping those behaviors and taking directly opposite action and then changing my behaviors. Guys, it's amazing, right? And again, it takes work, it takes patience, it takes habit, it takes deep introspection and a willingness to literally be honest with yourself. And that's the one thing I was never honest with myself before. As much as I believed at the time that I was not. Like I said, my underlying running program was just broken. It was just full of viruses, and I was not doing anything properly. Everything I did was conditional. Everything I had was propped up with sticks and twigs that were just ready to bend and break, and I finally let it all go. The beauty of letting it all go sometimes, guys, though, it's scary as hell, and it's not easy to do. And believe me, it took a lot, a lot of blind faith, and that's something I had to learn because it's not something I was naturally imbued with, right? I thought I had the answers to everything. I thought I had to figure things out for myself because I was usually left to do things on my own most of my life. So not necessary. There was all just self bullshitting, it was just literally, it was all my own choices and not being willing to look at what's around me and seeing how I can align with it, or being insecure about some defect of character that I had that I didn't want to bring to light, so I didn't want to come and be put in front of be given anybody else the opportunity to see those defects of character of mine. I thought I could hide everything. Guys, nobody's hiding anything. Everybody sees everything, guys. We're all out amongst each other, and when you do good, and I know that now because everything I'm doing is for the good, and again, not perfectly, but literally to the best of my ability. I try every day to go over and above. I try not to judge, and that's the thing, is that in fact, one of my good friends was talking at the meeting today, and I identified so much with what she said, that it's funny, because we get along well, because I see so much of myself in her. We were able to identify, and this is something everybody can practice. When you're able to see yourself in everybody else's situation, it's a lot harder to find fault with them, and you find a lot more sympathy for them, and then you're able to help them out of it, rather than judging and belittling and making somebody feel worse and possibly, pushing somebody out into a relapse or worse. I mean, can you imagine if you found out the comment that you made belittling somebody was the final straw, and then they decided to go out and use again, and then they overdosed and died? Like, that's shit that we're dealing with, guys. It's very serious, and the littlest thing, you don't know the extent of what somebody else is going through, and you don't know how much you can help them by supporting them, and you certainly don't know how much damage you might do by belittling them or judging them. It's just not necessary. You gotta understand that when you're judging somebody else, you're trying to either deflect attention from something bad that you're doing, or you're just recognizing something in yourself and somebody else that you're doing yourself. So, keep it to your own lane. And one of my favorite sayings I heard early on is, if I couldn't help, I certainly don't want to hurt. And that's something I've had with me for years now. It stems back from a relationship I had with somebody that was really abused. And I didn't always have the answers, but I tried very, very hard to try to not damage. And it wasn't easy, because this girl would come out swinging constantly, coming for your throat constantly. But it helped me immensely by developing that and understanding that it wasn't meant for me and it was from prior abuse. And I learned a lot of ways to help her cope and me to be able to manage stressful situations without reverting to the worst part of me. That's and it's funny to see that come into play now. Like, that whole situation laid the early groundwork for all the beautiful positive attributes that I'm allowing to flourish in my life today. Every good decision you make will compound and then lead to another good decision. And when you start making them regular and stacking them together, they start becoming, behavioral habits that just make you a better person, and then it aligns you for better opportunities, better friendships, better relationships, better paying jobs, better everything. Guys, I know I feel like I say some of the same things a lot, but again, it's because I'm working the same program every day. I show up in the same energy every day, and it's better. And when I make changes, they're because I've recognized things about myself that I could improve upon, and then I improve upon them. And every one of us is capable of doing this. But you got to let go of the ego. And again, there's a healthy ego we're all going to have. It keeps us alive. It keeps us from getting just trampled on. But then there's that me, myself, and I ego that we just need to let go of in order to be a part of something bigger than ourselves. And guys, I promise you, no matter your situation, when you start aligning yourself with people that are trying to better themselves and have been through things similar to you, you're going to invite healing, health, better opportunities, better situations, better feelings. You're going to like your life more. And then the more you step up and the more you do good things, the more you like who you are, the more you're going to pour into yourself. And then the more you're going to be willing to look at your life and look at other areas to improve. And just like that momentum has carried us all down the drain so many times in life, you can change that momentum and start building it for the good. I'm telling you, you can. I've done it. And you're not going to run into anybody. Even my harshest adversaries cannot help but sit back and say, yeah, he's done one hell of a lot of work. He's done an amazing job. He's thriving. Like guys, it's like, at some point when you take things as far as I have and many others in the program have, people have no choice but to get behind you because they end up looking so foolish trying to go against you. And again, not with perfection. I'm not perfect in every way. I'm not perfect in any way. But I'm trying every single day to do things for the right reason. I'm trying to reach out to more people. I'm trying to encourage as many people as I possibly can. And the most important thing I'm doing is trying to lead by example. And guys, the most beautiful thing of that is it's helped me to build my life. Like it's absolutely beautiful today. The opportunities that continue to open up in my life, the opportunities at work, the opportunities at AA to chair the meeting. Like that's amazing to me, guys. I'm so incredibly grateful to be a part of a meeting that I love so much that I'm willing to forego basically 1/5 of my profit time during the week because I don't schedule things on Friday, and I still get some work done, and I manage to get things done throughout. But I typically don't schedule anything large on Fridays because it revolves around my AA meeting, and I try to involve as much other recovery stuff as I have during the week onto Friday as possible, and including my therapist and things of that nature. And then because I've done that, I'm making so much more money the rest of the week that it's turned into my my sanctuary day because I answer emergency calls, so I'm often required to be available on the weekends, and I still make sure I get my stuff done. I keep as much of a balance as I possibly can. But guys, I'm working less now than I ever have in my life. I've been a workaholic on top of a drug addict and alcoholic my whole life, and I've had to in order to sustain my terrible habits. Well, now I'm working way less than I ever have. I'm making so much more than I ever dreamed possible, and I'm saving all of it. It's absolutely amazing, guys, and that is opening more doors of opportunity, bigger opportunities, like all my pipe dreams. Somebody told me 10 years ago when I came to Somerville that if I kept my nose clean and did things right, he'd help me get to be a millionaire within 5 years, and I blew it. I blew it within 4 months. Well, now I'm coming up on next week. I'll have 9 months of continuous sobriety, and I've laid the groundwork. It's that plan is back into effect, and it's going to happen probably a hell of a lot sooner than that. With inflation and the way things are going, the first couple properties, the first property I buy will make me a millionaire when it's paid off. But I'm not planning on stopping at 1. I want to have like 10, and I will, within the next 10 years. It's absolutely amazing today, guys. If you told me a year ago that I'd be set up right now with more than half of my down payment already saved, I would have laughed at you. If you told me I was going to have the business, be taking courses at Harvard, own the truck, be chairing, lo and behold, never mind chairing an AA meeting, I would have laughed at you and said it's not possible. They wouldn't let me because that's how I saw myself at that point. Even if I thought I'd get myself clean, I wouldn't have thought for a second that anybody would put that kind of faith in me. And that's what I have today, guys. I have people that are willing to follow me because I've led by example. They see me doing the right things for the right reasons and reaping beautiful benefits out of it. And now they want to get behind me because they're doing the right thing, and it aligns with what they're doing. But guys, the opportunity to be able to serve in my AA meeting, the fact that I want to, the fact that I'm being allowed to, and the fact that it makes sense to, is more than I could have possibly ever imagined, and certainly more than I would have ever asked for. But today it's just the baseline. It's just the beginning. But a big part of that has been putting all of these spiritual principles to work in my life, and a big part of that has been getting away from being in the gossip column. You know, one thing I'm so incredibly fortunate that I see now, because I've been guilty of it over the years too, clicking up at people, and then, you know, somebody that's not as popular, you're going to make them feel bad. And now I understand the damage that does, because I've seen these people. I've seen people's struggles. Like, I've been in the trenches, and I've seen so many good people that were on the street with just broken will because so many people picked on them unnecessarily. And these beautiful, amazing people had just finally thrown in the towel because some gang clicked up on them and just wanted to bully them. Guys, you don't understand. Even if you just gossip and judging, that is how these things happen. And then you get that mob mentality when, you know, you say it, she hears it, he hears it, he hears it. They all repeat it, and it gets bigger and bigger each one. And now this poor person being judged, even if they're doing something wrong. What? You've never made a mistake? We all make mistakes. But now they see 5 or 6 people talking shit about them, and now they're not comfortable coming back to a meeting that might just well have saved their life. You don't want to be a part of that. Nobody does. And again, the more important part of it is to understand that you're just identifying things in other people's that you don't like about yourself, and then start working on those things. That is the difference. Today, instead of just trying to stop the behavior, I take it a step farther and I try and identify the part of me that's wrong in doing so, and then I try to correct that. Again, not with any perfection, but the culmination of doing that day in and day out has changed everything about me. Literally, my physical appearance, my mental my cognitive ability, my spiritual strength is through the roof. You know, then I'm applying it in my business and I'm thriving. I can't believe that my 6-month-old business is now selling jobs that I'm selling and being given the opportunities that I am. And it's just the beginning, and it gets better and better every day because I get better and better every day, and I judge fewer and fewer people every day. I find compassion for those that are struggling today instead of blaming them for their struggles. And that's a much better point of view to have today, guys. I promise you it is. Guys, that's the lesson for today. Happy Friday. Thank you, everybody, so very much for being here. Always remember, God loves you. I love you. We will see you in the next one.